coming up on tonight's episode of Technoid, I am going to do something that I have never attempted in all of my years on YouTube. I am going to try and predict the entire OnePlus 8 launch event. This is either going to age terribly or is actually going to hold some weight and probably just needs a few tweaks on the next video. But I'm going to try and predict the price, the specs, everything about the OnePlus 8 Pro, and I'm going to try to do it in under 10 minutes. And also on tonight's episode, I will be talking about the HomePod, a lot of news regarding that, and their new HomePod might be on the horizon. So stay tuned. Hey, what is up everybody? Michael here, welcome back to Technoid. I hope you all are having an excellent night. I'm doing well as always, but guys, as you heard in the beginning, I am going to try and predict the OnePlus 8 Pro. Now, this is either going to age very well or is going to age terribly. I am hoping that this ages well, but the reason why I'm doing this is because everything about the phone is already out there. Android phones are the worst when it comes to trying to predict, and considering MKBHD pretty much just leaked it on his channel by trying to hide it with a cheap-ass case that OnePlus clearly gave him, it takes away any chance of having any surprise or any fun. So I figured let me just ruin it anymore if I'm either half right, half wrong, or totally wrong. So without further ado, let's get it going. So story number one, let's kick it up, the OnePlus 8 Pro. So as you know, the OnePlus 8 Pro I have been covering for a long time, and tomorrow it's coming out, and also the iPhone SE, probably Wednesday, according to John. Well, I'm going to basically discuss the iPhone and everything later on, but today let's focus on the OnePlus 8 Pro. So the OnePlus 8 Pro, and here we go with our predictions. So the OnePlus 8 Pro is pretty much the newest favor of the OnePlus lineup. They have pretty much spec'd this phone out and changed it into a way where it is now truly a flagship contender. From the design, to everything put inside, to everything you could imagine, the OnePlus 8 Pro has lived up to the hype that it was built up so long ago, and now it is only going to continue its momentum heading into 2020. Now, taking a look at the breakdown for the phone is housing a 6.7-inch 120Hz display, which is really crazy considering most phones don't even go past 90 Hz with the exception of the S20, and as an added bonus, you can use the 120 Hz display without having to switch to 1080p. So Samsung, why did you mess that up? I just want to know. Next thing, the phone also houses a now pop-up, it removes the pop-up, but now goes in favor of the punch hole design. I used to think that the punch hole design was okay, but the pop-up made it feel more of a full screen to body ratio. I don't get why they ditched it in favor, but maybe because of the mechanism and also faulty parts, or maybe also just easier. But of course, it is what it is. The pop-up is very small at the right side of the phone and does look pretty small in comparison. So the OnePlus 8 Pro has a full display. You got your 120Hz display, you have your USB-C, and finally, hopefully this is true, wireless charging has come to the OnePlus 8 Pro. I talked about it, it's been said on their website, their forum, everything about wireless charging has been finally accepted with OnePlus. From the reports of the 30 warp charging, 30 watts fast wireless charging, now you can make a claim for a wireless future without the USB-C port, because 30 watts is pretty incredible. So OnePlus once again innovating where it needs innovation. Wireless charging. So OnePlus, great job on that. I give you a lot of props. Now let's take a look at the cameras. So the camera, we have a triple camera setup and a fourth time of flight sensor camera. So we have two dual 48 megapixel sensors, combine that with an 8 megapixel wide angle lens and a 5 megapixel time of flight sensor. So obviously OnePlus is focusing their game on the camera setup. Now, if you look at the camera setup on something like a Note or the S20, their cameras beat out OnePlus, but not by too much, but not by small either. they really have great cameras, Samsung and Sony and so many others. So OnePlus is trying to up their game with the cameras, and I think this adds some room to work with. I think that it gives them an edge because the camera department has always been where they were lacking, but I think maybe this time, hopefully they've got it right, and also with some software updates, things will only get better. On top of all that, you have also your Snapdragon 865, you have Android 10 with Hydrogen OS 10.5.2 shipping right out of the box. I don't think that is a shocker. But now comes the hardest part, the price. Now, some people are either going to be upset by this or they're going to be happy by this. Now, before I start this, I think we're only going to see the OnePlus 8 Pro. The OnePlus 8 will probably debut somewhere else like they did last year. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to start with 12 gigs of RAM and will have two configurations. They will all come shipped with 5G standard, so you have nothing to worry about when it comes to 5G. But the pricing, this is where I'm at. You will have, I believe, an 8GB version, a 12GB version of 128, and a 12GB version of 256 gigs of storage. So taking a look at the OnePlus 8 Pro or OnePlus 8, whichever way this goes, with 8GB at 128, I am predicting that will be $750. That is my prediction. Now to the 12GB and 128 storage, I think that will be $100 more, going up to $849. And the OnePlus 8 Pro with 12 gigs and 256 gigabytes of storage will be $899. Now it is $100 less in my opinion, in my prediction, what I'm thinking, but hopefully OnePlus nails the 5G market with this pricing at a premium flagship smartphone and basically just nails it. The OnePlus 8 Pro feels like a true flagship phone, and everything that you're given from outside of the box to the phone itself to everything, this phone is lined up to be the real flagship killer. Not all those years of, oh, it was almost there, this and that. No, this is the flagship killer, and OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be the nail in the coffin and is going to do so much. So that's it for my predictions of the OnePlus 8 Pro. So if you're seeing this video either tonight or tomorrow and you come back to this video, and if I'm hopefully right, you could be, good job, Mike. Or if I'm completely wrong, I will probably just talk about it in tomorrow's episode. But anyway, that's my prediction for the OnePlus 8 event. Now let's talk OnePlus out of it. Let's go to the HomePod. So Apple, as you know, has had so little success with the HomePod. They really need to do a lot with the HomePod if they want it to be a true competitor. Well, I got two stories to talk about. First up, let's get it out of the way, software support for the original HomePod. Now, people were doing some observations, looking at the firmware, taking a look at HomePod's iOS update, and it looks like the HomePod is no longer using iOS software as its platform. Instead, it is using tvOS platform as the software development. Now, what does this mean? Does that mean it's going to differ? No. If anything, the reason why they did this was because of two reasons. One, their Apple TV HD runs an A8 chip. The HomePod runs on an A8. So by using the platform that one Apple TV has with the HomePod will allow for it to last longer, have better software support, but that both are on the same platform, they can optimize and get a better experience and keep it lasting longer. That's one. And number two, this could also symbol that the newer HomePod coming out will run iOS, and then when it starts to decline, it will probably switch over. So it shows us how Apple is going to maintain these HomePods should they release a second one and also have any longer lasting HomePods. Speaking of the second HomePod, let's transition to story number two. Apple is deducting a huge saving on the HomePod for employees only, trying to clean out the inventory by discounting the price to $150. The HomePod costs $299, but for employees you can get it for $150. Now this is their attempt to decrease their inventory, try to get them out of the stock so that when the new ones come in, they can sell those and get right into business. Now the new HomePod is rumored to be smaller and more versatile. It'll be a lot cheaper and more easier for people to get into. Hopefully open Bluetooth, fingers crossed. But I feel that the newer HomePod will be the better success for Apple by being a lot more cheaper, a lot more smaller, and a lot more easier for users. It will be much easier for them to get into this ground than doing what they did with the first HomePod. So hopefully the new HomePod will be coming sooner rather than later. We'll see, maybe WWDC, or who knows, even when the iPhone launches, who knows, maybe something they got back up their sleeves. But that's it for today's episode of Technoid. So guys, this is a weird episode, and I understand if this is a weird one. So guys, I hope you were able to understand my predictions, and I hope you agree. If you don't disagree, comment down below. I want to hear what you have to say. And as always, guys, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. That helps as well, helps to circulate the videos. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night, and peace!